All right, you guys, welcome again to Learn Through Loving. I am joined by my lovely friend Amy. She is, I've actually known her for a few years now, and I'm going to put this down
Okay.
so I don't look at it. All right, sorry.
Oh yeah, I get so distracted by those.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. I'm just going to put it like this.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Um, so I've known Amy for a few years, and she has been such a special person in this recovery journey and just in life and stuff. Like we've I don't know, it's interesting how we kind of things came about, and I don't know, I'm just super excited to have you here. How are you doing, Amy?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, LT. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. You kind of sprung this on me, and then
I
I know, I was so happy for you though. Like the first thing was, anxiety, and then I started getting really excited for you
yeah.
that you're doing this.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've kind of, no one said that yet, but I felt like that's what I've done. Like, hey, let's hang out. By the way, let's record part of our
Yeah,
conversation while we're hanging out.
yeah, exactly.
So, we kind of talked a little bit. We went and got dinner before this, and I'm happy I get to explain a lot, what's going on.
Mhm.
Again, the whole motive, for this is to hear people's stories and kind of hear, what insights all of us kind of have. So I know that we're kind of getting started. The question I like to start people at, if you don't mind, is like what brought you to this moment right now?
Oh God.
Oh god.
I mean, the short answer is like LT is going on his own journey, and yeah, he invited me, and then I also asked him. And I think though it's so hard to kind of just explain like how I got to be like here exactly, because here can encompass this entire space, which is I think a really big deal, and then here can also encompass like my friendship with LT, which is also a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know really where to start on these kind of things.
So there's no right place.
Yeah.
I do it in whatever you feel called to say. If it's just how you got to this townhouse, that's cool, or whatever. Or I'm not trying to share your story, but like we met in a recovery group.
Yeah.
So, what do you have anything that sticks out, or should we move somewhere else? What do you feel?
No, I'll kind of talk about like LT, and just like he's an awesome, awesome guy. Like, I think, well, I met you because I was sharing a story back. It was last year. It was August 1st of
Was
2019.
it that long ago?
Yeah, I know. It was over a year
Jesus.
ago, which I think is just insane. It was that Thursday at the recovery meeting,
Dude.
Tempe.
Yeah, I knew that. I just didn't know when it was.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
I remember a lot of dates, and so I was just kind of sharing this thing. I was going through a really rough time at the then, and I don't want to share too many details,
Yeah.
but my partner was going through a lot of his own addictions and issues with that. And then there was some issues between us. There was a huge falling out,
Yeah.
and so I was sharing that with the recovery Dharma meeting, and it was really different, that experience, because a lot of times I feel like everyone's sharing something really uplifting, or at least just
Mm,
something positive of their journey. And that day I was like, ah, I'm sorry to be such a fucking bummer to everyone. Like, I have a shitty story and it's not fun and I'm miserable right now. I'm not finding any silver lining. I'm just miserable. And LT came up to me after, and you were like, hey, I'm here for you, and I've like worked with these kind of things before, and more importantly, you were there just to like understand me and as a friend and talk to me after. And everyone was really supportive, but you really made that like further effort, and offered like sort of a handout, to not a handout, but you extended a handout
yeah.
to me, and offered to talk. And so ever since, like, we've been friends, and I'm thankful that our friendship is not built off of you helping me out. Like, I hate those kind of friendships. I want it to be reciprocal, where I hope I've also given you something too,
Dude,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. So that's why I think maybe I was a little uncomfortable at first. Like, there was some trepidation, and I was like, oh God, I don't want it to be like every time we meet up, I'm just crying to
Yeah.
him or something. So we ended up talking a lot more, and there's a lot more. It's not just like based off of just recovery. It's like we're just good friends, and
Yeah.
like we have so much to talk about. Like, I never feel like I really run out of something to talk about with you. So
I concur.
yeah, that's good. I'm glad it's that way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the series of events that brought us to here, to
Mhm.
where this podcast is. And then LT, of course, I'm sure a lot of people know right now, is having his own journey and going to California and Seattle and Sweden.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of record this before he left. And I don't really know who exactly I'm talking to. I'm like, am I talking to the audience? Am I talking to
You talk
you?
to me.
Okay, I'm trying to just
It's
talk.
hard. It's hard because I know you know it's there, but this is it. Like,
Okay.
I think after we talk for a little bit, you're gonna forget that the mics are here.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I'll just talk to you.
Okay.
And so, what brought me to this townhouse, I guess, so my partner and I, after everything happened, there was a point where he was getting better and he was in recovery, and I was really rooting for him and just really happy. And then he relapsed,
Hmm.
and so at that point, it was kind of just like, it felt like it was a very somber feeling, and it was struggling for him in a lot of ways, obviously,
Yeah.
and as well as for me. So I don't know. It was just a hard time, I guess, in general. And so eventually, after he had relapsed, I told him to come live with me for a few days, but then he ended up checking himself into detox, right?
Hmm.
So after all that, he ended up moving into sober living, and then finding a job of his own. And
Hmm.
at the time he didn't have a car, so he was like taking the bus hours to get to work and stuff, or I would drive him hours to get to work. And through a lot of his like hard work, but then also like my hard work too. Like
Yeah.
I've there's a lot of times
Hey.
where in the past, hi baby, um I'm trying to be a little more financially independent, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to find my own place. I think a lot of times, sorry, um,
It's okay. It's part
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Well, hello, this is my cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It's okay.
so hard
I'm
to
gonna move
explain these
him.
things. Yeah, just move him. If you want, you can just push him down.
No, I won't. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
He knew it was
Yeah,
coming.
he knows. Oh, I'm sorry, Vigor. Yeah, I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, I guess through all of that, I started trying to be more financially independent. I think I had to come to terms with my own addictions in some ways, because I never really struggled too much with substances.
Yeah.
It was much more codependency and self harm, and more so the codependency as the root cause of all the other issues.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was drinking and I was using, some drugs and stuff. And I think that was like a result of my codependency. And so I think moving in, I had a little bit of hesitation because I was afraid of just further exacerbating my codependency.
For sure.
So I think there was a lot of just self care involved, and then going to recovery Dharma meetings too, that helped along the way. And then, yeah, I got to make more money myself. I'm back in school after a really long time of like dropping out of college twice and flunking like two of my semesters. And I'm here now, and I'm really happy. And
Dude,
this townhouse makes me happy. Like living here makes me happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I love hearing it. I love so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit with what you said.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of times it's really hard to be vulnerable, right? And you mentioned like a lot of times, not just in recovery meetings, just everyone wants to present their best self, right? Whether it's social media or anything like that, they just want to show like, oh, look at like I'm so like in meetings, it's like I'm so grateful for this. I got the job I always wanted, and like everything's going great. And then that's not like if life was all sunshine and rainbows and shit, then we would never have dark spaces, right? We
Mhm.
wouldn't no one would choose to have that shit. And that was kind of what stuck out to me when you came in, because you had come like to one of the meetings before. And I remember I remember saying something like you said some I think you said you were mistaken with another coworker, and then I said a comment like I've been mistaken with somebody because of my beard, and then I was thinking after, I'm like, she probably thinks I'm fucking racist or like some shit like that, because I was just trying to relate with you. But then I was like, I don't know who she is. Like maybe she's like, look, being mistaken for someone else of like a similar ethnicity is not the same as being mistaken for somebody who has a beard. And I was like, oh shit, like I wanted to make my goal in any type of thing is to I don't want to do anything that pushes people away, right? It's not even about people pleasing. It's like I don't need to share political beliefs or any of these things that might keep you from coming back. And you were relatively new at these meetings, you know? And then you come in with this thing and you say that you're like, I don't know from what I know of you too, this took a lot of courage for you to come to this place with 20 strangers and be like, I'm not okay,
Mhm.
right? And I at that moment I loved it. It's when I go to places, when I'm talking with anybody, I'm always looking for how authentic someone is or how genuine they are, right? And a lot of times the way that we connect with people is through our vulnerabilities, through our pain, you know. And I've told you this before, but just to share it, I heard it shared at a meeting that, when we share our troubles, when we share our pains, we cut it in half, and when we share our joys, we double them, right?
Yeah.
And that's most of my friendships are all like that, like people that I care about, and I want to have that with everybody in the world, right? And to be able
Mhm.
to shoulder burdens. And so I hear you say this, and it's so similar to my story with my old significant other that was in addiction and stuff,
Yeah.
that I was just like, dude, I need to go talk to this girl, like, and luckily my partner at the time, Maria, was like so supportive. Like she, I love that, like the
Yeah.
fact there was no insecurity or anything like that. She's like, yeah, you go help, you have the experience, like you help.
Yeah.
We talked in the parking lot, and I was just like, whatever it is, I just wanted to make you feel like you're okay right now, regardless of what happened, because you are. And but I don't know your whole situation even at that time, but
Mhm.
you're in a panic, right? It was like a day old or something like that. It was like
Yeah.
so fresh. And um and then you ended up reaching back out, and I was super pumped because I'm like, holy shit, like that's awesome. Like, yeah, let's meet up. And I get so much, like, I know how that is, too. I felt like with old mentors or whatever I mean, I'm just your friend, but in
Mhm.
that respect, you were looking to me for some sort of guidance on a particular thing, or at least somebody to talk to, right? And I felt like I was wasting people's time, or like that I was just a burden to them. I felt that way before. And I never felt that way with you. I never felt, but it's weird to be vulnerable to somebody, to say, like, hey, do you have a few minutes? Because I need to say shit.
Mhm.
It's hard to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But you did do that. And that it helps me because I'm going through my experience, right? I remember meeting up at like Coffee Rush or something like that. And
Yeah.
we just like talked for a long time. And it was like, about like relationships and addiction and all this stuff. And then it was like, okay, we paused, and then it
Mhm.
was like, all right, now let's talk about other stuff, like what hobbies we have. You told me about where you worked, and
Mhm.
because we didn't want it just to be that. It doesn't have to just be that,
Mhm.
but that's kind of where it started. And I think that that's, for my experience, like, I love starting relationships with the real shit. It wasn't this like superficial thing, like, oh, well, I'm this type of student. Like, I didn't learn what you were going to school for until like the third time we met up or
Yeah,
something, right? Like,
exactly.
um, and vice versa. It doesn't. I shared with you all of my struggles and things, and then we get closer because of that,
Mhm.
right? And you know, so that I wanted to say that about the positive thing. It is hard to say negative things, but, or not even negative, just where you're really at.
Mhm.
It's so hard to say that because you're afraid people are going to judge you, or they're going to tell you what you need to do. There's so much of that in the world instead of just being heard. And I'm happy that you felt safe enough to do that there,
Yeah.
because that's an important thing. I don't think a lot of people, with how we grow up and stuff, feel safe to express these feelings, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess I had a question for you then. And
ooh,
it's because I think I don't really know about fate exactly, but sometimes I think that certain people are meant to meet each other.
yeah,
And there are things like soulmates, not in the sense of, like I said, not in the sense of relationships, but just friendships, or you could be soulmates with your parents or anything really. And so, but then you said you don't really believe in coincidences. So I wanted to know what you did believe and like what you felt
that's
about,
a good
like,
one.
yeah, tied us all
using
together, like
using my
everyone.
shit against me. No,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, no, I was a person. I wanted to say where I kind of came from with that,
Mhm.
with how my life was. um, with mostly with addiction, but just everything leading up to the point when I finally started, I don't know, feeling like I was participating in life. I remember hearing people say, like, when I see a hummingbird, it's my grandpa coming to check on me or some shit like that. And I that's how I would say, I'm like, dude, it's just a fucking hummingbird, right? Like, that's it. You're the one assigning meaning to it, right? And this comes from, I talked with on the first podcast with Devin, and our whole bond of our friendship was nihilism, was literally talking about how everything's meaningless and everyone's fucking stupid for that. And we bonded on that. We talked about that all the time for the first year of our sobriety, right? And because what I know now, reflecting on it, I had to think coincidences. I had to think people assign these meanings because my life, I felt, was so shit up to that point that if this was the plan of the universe, it can go fuck itself, right? Like, this cannot be God's plan for me, right? All this stuff, all this struggle, and turmoil, and just one thing after another for years and years, and so I didn't want to believe in. I wanted to believe in coincidence because that made me feel better, and it made me feel like even shit I couldn't explain, I had to reject because I didn't have anything.
Mhm.
You know?
Right, yeah, sorry about the cat.
No,
Right.
no, no. He's fine. It's awesome.
Yeah.
People love cats and
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
Okay, back into it.
Yeah.
So I am losing my train of thought. That's where I kind of came from with it, right? Was that there couldn't be coincidences. And since then, I've gone through this transformation of being open to different ways of looking at the world. My own all those experiences I said I've rejected before,
Mhm.
I've re-looked at them from the new perspective because I have hope in life, right? I have a joy in life. I like giving to people. I see the good that I can produce. And now I look back on those old things and I'm like, holy shit, like there's some things that are unexplainable, right? And it's not just a coincidence that I'm still here today. Now, as for there's the huge debate of what that really is,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not even going to get into that because we won't figure it out, or I don't think we will. If we did, that'd be awesome, right?
Mhm.
But on what it is that's giving us this purpose, or if life's predetermined, these questions don't really matter to me. What I know is that I've had too many things that were just a coincidence to think that that's really a thing anymore. And a lot with like Maria's passing, uh, that changed my whole perspective on like my whole life.
Mhm.
Really, I
Of
mean,
course.
death usually does that for us, right? It
Yeah.
makes us reflect. But it started just thinking like, dude, like everything that's happened up to this point, I don't want to say. I mean, you can say for a reason that never really resonated with me. Um, but it happened, and this is what it is, right? And we can choose to take something from it or not, and that's kind of where the nihilism still comes in. Like we have the choice, you know, um, but we're free. We're not tied to this thing. And then as far as like you mentioned, does that kind of answer the coincidence thing?
Yeah, I
That's kind of what
mean,
I
we
believe.
don't have to live in like this dichotomy between everything's a coincidence and everything's planned out. Like
Exact,
things
dude.
happen
Yeah,
and we take it with however we want to approach it.
yeah.
It's like how our perspective is
Yeah,
on
and
these
maybe
things.
some things are predetermined, and maybe some things aren't. There's infinite possibilities of that, right? Like
Exactly.
that maybe there's some times where maybe when I should have died, like by some of the crazy situations I was in,
Mhm.
there was some divine intervention in it. And there's other times where who fucking cares, right? And it's just like live your life or
Yeah.
whatever it is, the synchronicity of the universe or and then you mentioned soulmate. I like to use the word soul friends
Oh yeah.
or
Oh,
or
that's good.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because I've had a few of those in my life where I
Mhm.
feel like when we're talking, it's like our souls are just hanging out, holding hands, like you would with a friend if you walk like in the park or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's it. It's a deeper connection. It's not shallow, and I don't get that with everybody. It's not like every person I meet, I'm like, like namaste taking on a real meaning, right? It's like I don't know. I feel it, and I felt that with you. Maybe because we started at a really vulnerable spot,
Mhm.
or I don't know. Right? There's just so many similarities. I know you're a little younger than I am, but it's always a pleasure like talking. And you mentioned like you hope that you help me out. Like every time we talk, it's one of those things. Like we're always perpetually teachers, and we're always students, right?
Yeah.
Like in anything, because you ask questions, right? Like, and you're not afraid to, I mean, maybe you are afraid, I don't know how you feel about it, but you do say things like you're like, hey, I really appreciate this thing, like things that people wouldn't usually say, or you
Mhm.
would say like, I don't know, I'm really scared right now, but I just wanted to tell you this thing or whatever. And
Mhm.
you fucking do it. And that's like inspiring to me because there's times in my life where, you know, we all have a perception of someone else that they're doing fine because that's what they always see. But like,
Mhm.
dude, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect in relationships. I struggle a lot. And I remember, Maria and I had like we were taking a little time apart. I remember we went to the vegetarian place and actually Green where we went today,
Yeah.
and just I just remember talking with you and you were just like just supportive. You were just like, dude, this is gonna. I don't even remember anything specific you said. I just remember feeling like accepted and loved, and you were doing your thing. And what was cool is like it was kind of it felt like the tables were turned a little bit because you and your partner were like in I'd say more of an up thing. You guys were, whatever. And then
Mhm.
I was kind of in this spot where I was just like, I don't have anything really uplifting to say other than I'm figuring it out. Right.
Yeah.
And then when Maria passed too, I remember meeting up with you at that party. Um, and you're the only reason I went. You're like, hey, I'll
Aw.
go. uh, and so we went there and like we were swimming and stuff, but I was like excited to talk to you
Mhm.
and because you knew her, right? Like you had did you guys even hung out like yourselves before or talked or
No, there
something?
were so many times that we were gonna like all hang out together, but
Yeah.
then like I remember at Coffee Rush she was doing a dance class for
Oh,
like 3 hours and
yeah.
stuff, and you're gonna meet up after her, and I wanted to like say hi to her, but I had her number and we talked, and
Yeah.
of
I know
course
you
we always
talked at
talked
least
at
a few
meetings,
times. Yeah.
yeah, and she was just like such a kind soul, and like every time she led a meditation, every time she shared, every time she talked to either me or everyone, it was always just infectious, just how kind and like warm spirited she was. And
Yeah.
so, when she passed, it wasn't, it was like, losing that sort of light. And then it was also the concern of like, oh, is LT going to be okay? And because
Yeah.
LT, I know you're the closest one to her aside from her family.
Yeah.
And even then, yeah. So,
I know her the most recent, right?
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I mean, I know you'd heard about it because we talked a little. It was right it was right at the beginning of COVID, right?
Oh,
This
yeah.
happened uh April 30th or May 1st, depending on how you look at it. Um So I'll probably just take both of those days for her. Like I still think about that
Sure.
sometimes, right? Like on what that's gonna look like. But um, you reached out, but it was like people weren't seeing each other. And I had some friends that were like, dude, fuck COVID, like especially like really like family friends from a long time
Yeah.
ago. They were like, get over here, do you need a hug? You know? And so I was just excited to like that was the first time I went out like really in public. This was what, June or July. Was it July? I don't even remember.
It was July.
July. So yeah, it had been a couple months, and yeah, and it was cool to be able to again just be real with you, because it was built up on that. Then I'm telling you, like, I don't know. We all process things different, right? And come across different ways, but it was able to just tell you like this is where I'm at, and then it helps. There's something different from the fact that you knew her in a different way than a lot of people do.
Mhm.
So the people that met her as just my girlfriend or at this thing, at a concert or whatever it is, and you got to actually hear her shares, you hear her meditate, like things that were deeply personal, and sharing spirituality is some of the most intimate stuff that we can do.
Yeah.
Um, so that I don't know, that was special to me to talk to you about that, and then it just keeps going, and then I don't know, we don't need to talk about this that much, but I know you and your family were recently like sick with fucking, is that okay?
The pandemic that will
The
not be
fucking
named.
yeah, the Rona,
Yeah,
right?
the
And
Rona.
fucking
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh shit, like that's like you're probably the closest person. I've always known that it was like somebody's uncle or you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, like or someone's like really old grandpa
Mhm.
got it. I was like, holy shit, like, and not that I wasn't already like taking it seriously, but I was like, fuck, dude, like that's a little bit more intense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but yeah, so I wanted to just reciprocate the fact that I think that any of these relationships, especially like ones that I choose to put my effort in, they're not ones where you're not a person that like uses energy, right?
Yeah.
There's those people, like I feel like everybody has people they've known in their life, whether it's parents or whether it's something else, that you feel drained after hanging out with them.
Energy vampires
Yeah,
is
that's the
I think
word.
what people call them. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's people that do that and they're not aware, or maybe they are, or maybe you don't know what their whole story is, but dude, those people can be toxic. And I make it a point, like in my life now, to choose who I to share my energy with, right?
Mhm.
Share my time with. And there's I have time for those people, especially if I'm feeling super full. I have energy to give away. I want to give to everybody.
Mhm.
But like usually meaningful friendships, there has to be a two-way on it. And
Yeah.
I never like got home after hanging out with you and I was like, "Oh, Maria, you won't believe it. Amy is such a fucking mess, dude." Like, and she just kept talking and kept like none of that. I was just like, it would just be like, "Hey, I was like hanging out with you." I'm like, "Dude, it was awesome. We talked about this and like, we're both just trying to get better and shit." And like, it just that's how I always felt like uplifted. And I love friendships like that, right? Like where you feel like excited to see the person instead of
Mhm.
dreading it. And those were red flags I used to ignore so long, right? I used to always still keep these people in my life, even though I was like, oh God, like counting the time that I have to hang out with them, you know?
I know that feeling, and
Yeah.
it's crazy because I always talk to my family and like all of my other friends. I'm like, oh my god, LT is like so cool. Or I won't maybe not say your name, but I'll say like I have a
That's
friend
fine.
who I
That's
met
fine.
in
I love
recovery
it.
meetings, and he's just like amazing, and he's just a really nice guy. And you've been a great like teacher as well as listener,
Thank you.
spiritually through your like wisdom and kindness and strength. And I think that's I don't know. I was actually thinking about this the other day. When I was younger, I had this sort of like I don't know, some sort of complex. When I was younger, when I really wanted to always achieve a lot, and I was taking like a bunch of AP classes in high school, and I was lying to myself in a sense because I thought I was good at physics and I thought I was good at math. In reality, I'm terrible at both. Like I'm okay, maybe not terrible, but I'm not great by any means. And I was studying engineering for 3 years and failing at it, right? But in high school, I lied to myself. I was like in robotics club. I started math and science club, and I would try to only be friends with people who I thought were like intellectually capable. Um, and I think now, like, you really reevaluate kind of like your priorities in life as well as like the people you want to surround yourself with because everyone's different and everyone is very unique in their own ways. But I sometimes realize like intelligence doesn't always mean wise. I like to surround myself with like a sangha, like wise friends and
Yeah.
mentors and people who have certain like characteristics that really inspire me. And I've come to realize that sometimes just being around friends or people that are just like smart in that conventional sense, which nothing, nothing wrong with that, but it's just when it comes to me, I don't really want to just surround myself with those kind of people because there always feels like there's something lacking in our conversations in a way that I don't think is lacking with people in like the Sangha,
Yeah.
or just people that I've really chosen to connect with myself. I still have friends who are, however which way. And I have different kinds of friends. Not a lot, but I have different kinds of friends and I still like to hang out with them and they still matter a lot to me. But like when I actively think about who I want to be around, it's just I don't know, it's a little different than I think it was in the past. And in
Yeah.
the past I wasn't really ever like living for myself. I was living for other people. And so in that sense I was always trying to so, be around people who I thought were also really successful or, just really intelligent. And I wasn't even that way myself. I just like to be me now more than anything. I want to be unequivocally myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be around people who are unequivocally themselves as well.
Yeah. Sorry, she was looking at the
Uh,
wire. She's
oh,
good
okay.
though.
All right. That's good.
Um, something that stuck out to me was you had said you're gonna remember the actual quote. I hope you do.
Okay.
Of because you shared with me like it was you had this realization that it was something like like you're gonna like this life is so short, right?
Mm.
Do you remember that? Like you shared it with me, and you're like, we only have so much time. Like, what are you gonna spend your time doing? It was the
Yeah.
idea of it. You were inspired. I just remember you being excited about it. You're
Mhm.
like, you knew this from a logical standpoint, but it meant something different. And when
Yeah.
you just said that right there, of like, you want to be yourself, right? And here you were, and maybe it was influenced by family growing up, right, or by other people that you'd seen, or like that. I know that was like that for me. It was always here's our dreams. We need you to do this, like, because
Mhm.
you don't have any direction yet, and you're just a kid.
Of
So go do
course.
this, and they didn't really know. I I'm my own person, right?
Yeah.
And like when my parents taught me to like play music, and I grew up playing viola and piano and all this stuff. And then when it came time to go to college, I was like, well, I'm going to go to college for music. And they're like, well, you can't go to college for music. What are you going to do with that? I mean, they didn't say don't go for it, but that was what I heard. Was like, dude, I just spent 12 years or like 10 years playing these fucking instruments. Like, for what? If I'm not doing this with it. And I didn't know what I wanted yet and stuff. And I had to explore and fail a lot of times, right? I definitely believe in failing at life successfully. Like we have to do that a lot.
Mhm.
And I it makes me wonder if there was like any like masks that you were wearing. You were still trying to figure out who Amy was, right? So you're like, well, I want to be happy and successful, and like this seems like a thing that could provide me with financial security to do all the things I want to do, right?
Mhm.
I'm assuming that's some part of the thought process.
I think it was just this. It wasn't really financial security. I never really,
Thought
cared
that.
too much
Okay,
about money.
I'm
I
not
think it
gonna.
was just like this isolation I felt as a kid of just not being accepted. And then I was thinking, because I don't know what it was, but I think I saw like the people around me who were successful in that sense of just like being really intelligent,
Mm,
being actually very accepted in my school. So then I was like, I want to be that way, and I
yeah,
want to be so smart that I stand out in some sort of weird fashion. And it just wasn't me, and I also wasn't outgoing enough to be that way either. So then I would just come off really strange and like asocial. And like I just remember some cringy things I did back in high school or something. And I don't know, I don't want to ever discredit my parents. My parents were really supportive.
absolutely.
And I mean, I think as a kid, they were a little bit more of like the stereotypical Asian parents of like, you need to be doing this and this and this. And I went to Chinese school, I went to math class on Saturdays and everything, and like speedy math, Kuman, dance class, Chinese dance, ballet, tennis, piano,
Jesus,
cheerleading, gymnastics,
you
swimming,
did it
drawing.
all.
I did every
Oh
single
my
thing under the
god.
sun. And but now they've really kind of changed. And my mom said this one thing that I love, and she said it like,我不要你当更好的自己，我要你更好的当自己, which is like, I don't want you to be a better version of you. I want you to be better at being you and stuff. And kind of in a
Wow.
way. And
Wait, can you say that one more time, just so I got it?
yeah, I don't want you to be a better you. I want you to be better at being you,
Oh
in a sense.
shit, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
So I love that what she said, and I've taken it with me a lot of ways, because yeah, I think in the past I was always trying to like be this, like playing off these tiny, minute, small things that I think I was good at, and then just like honing in on it, and just pulling myself in all these different
Yeah,
directions, and I eventually was just not Amy, and I feel more Amy now today than I ever have been in the past. So yeah, and I'm just like, I'm happy to be able to share that moment with you, because
dude.
yeah, it's just crazy to just be able to have this, like, we're meeting in this time where we're both like trying to be ourselves,
Yeah.
and like you going on these adventures is like part of you doing something that is unequivocally you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that word too. It makes things sound so much better,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But but like, dude, that's awesome. I love that saying. I'm like trying to internalize it,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna at least I get to listen to this back, so I
Yeah.
get to hear it again. Um, you mentioned that you did all these things, and I
Hmm.
could see you being good at everything that you do because you gave me right before this you gave me that picture, which I'll probably post in my
Oh
Instagram or
god.
something like
Okay.
that, or not, who knows, I'll talk to you about
All
it.
right.
But it's so like that's amazing, like, and I bet if you just spent time like you're probably like badass at piano, you probably can kick my ass at tennis. I'm not that good of an athlete, so
Mhm.
we'll keep that there. But just
Fair
like
enough.
I could just see you doing good at whatever you want to do, right? But I was actually talking with a friend earlier about this. Like I wore whatever I did what I needed to do to fit in or to try to be happy and all these things, and I
Mhm.
never asked myself what I really wanted, right? And that was something like that'll lead me to my next question. Actually, what an
Oh,
organic segue. So this
wow,
is something
perfect.
Maria used to ask me, and I fucking hated it.
Mhm.
But I love the question now. And she would always say, like, look, if money was no object, and you could, when anything was possible, what would you do right now?
Oh fuck, dude. It was so crazy because I was just talking to my partner about this
Oh yeah,
yesterday, and we were talking about if we won the lottery, like what would happen and
yeah.
stuff, and like, and I already said this, and I've said this every single time, ever since I switched to architecture or design is architecture. Like I doesn't matter if I got all the money in the world, I never had to worry about money. I want to design for like working class people to counter gentrification and like sustainable housing. I want to like eventually open up my own firm and then implement like second chance hiring for like people who have been like previously incarcerated,
Felonies. Yeah, yeah.
and I want to design like safe injection sites and everything. Like I want to be able to
Fucking love
help the
that.
world and travel too. Obviously, like I'm not
Yeah,
gonna just work, and I want to be able to explore this world and like meet all kinds of people. I think that's one of the best parts of traveling. It's not as much the sights, which are beautiful, but it's like just being able to meet everyone. And you can start here. That's the great thing is like I can just start in Arizona meeting all kinds of people. There's millions of people here. I just think I need to work on myself to be able to like get over that sort of fear. But yeah, if money was not an issue, it's such an obvious answer for me. And it's design. It's always going to be design, I think. I mean, but of course subject
dude,
to change.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a like you just knew too.
Yeah.
That's the fucking cool thing about you. Like, there's certain things that are so inspiring about you. The fact that like so, I'll share my own experience. When I
Mm-hmm.
used to get asked that question, I would always be like, "Dude, why are you doing this to me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know this is torture for me to think." And she would say, like, "Look, if you don't even know what the fuck you want, what are you doing in life?"
Oof.
She was very like to the point with that, and not in a mean. She wanted, she could see way more potential in me than I could at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's like that sometimes with people we love. I've had that with sponsees and stuff. Like, I want the best for you, and I bet our parents feel that way too, right? I don't have kids yet, but she's like you could fucking do it all. Like, if I had told her this was what I knew, she'd be like, fuck yeah, it's gonna be incredible, whatever it is. But at that time, this is only just like 2 years ago. I was like, I don't fucking know. A noose so I could fucking kill
Oh my
myself, right?
gosh,
Like,
yeah.
I would probably, if I was in a negative spot, and that's usually when she'd ask me the question. Like, I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's such a hard question. But then she's so right with like what I've been running away from that question my whole life. They asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I don't know, dude. I want to be an adult. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what that means, right? And I've every single time since then, it's just caused all this anxiety. Now I finally can tell you, it's like similar, right? I want to help people in the way that I know how to. And that the fact that I know I've seen some of the stuff you do for architecture, like not every, I'm not in your classes or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I bet you're fucking killing it. I know that you're enjoying yourself more doing this than you were whatever you were previously studying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already good because you need to do what's good for you. And then if you have that energy, like, you're going to totally be able to do that. Like, I can see that for you. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, what if that's so cool? Like, what I want to
Thank
say
you.
to you is that, like, if I end up ever, depending on how things work out, if I ever need like a studio
Oh God.
or
Okay.
anything like that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you up first. And
Sounds
if
good.
anything, you can tell me somebody else that does studios,
Mhm.
or you could do it, or whatever. But that's obviously, I'm planting a seed right here
Okay. Okay.
for
Cool.
a decade from now, or however long from
Sure.
now, and I'll be like, my good friend Amy, who's an architect,
You'll be the
like.
first one, LT. Yeah, I'll be commissioning. Don't worry. I would love
That would be
to. I
so
really.
cool.
I kind of want to actually ask you that
Ooh,
because now,
now where I'm at,
if you were, yeah, if you were asked that question, what would you say?
I'd say, Maria, I love you. No, it just reminds me of that. So what would I do if Jeff Bezos came in and said, "Yo, what do you want to do, LT? We'll make it happen." Um, this is gonna sound like the most. Oh, hi, little doggy. This is
Mhm.
gonna sound like the most cliche thing, but literally, I would do what I'm doing right now.
What you're doing right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I that's it's so weird. Because there's the way the last year's worked out, and we kind of talked about this, but I'll say it on here. there's COVID. My partner of a few years passing away, losing this, I don't know, job that I like the most that I've ever had, right? And getting like fired from it, right? And for not doing anyway. That's a whole different story. It doesn't really matter. All of these things um kind of guided me to the direction that I'm going, right? And I don't know when I would post this. I'll probably still be in the US, but I'm in Arizona right now. I leave in 2 days,
Yeah.
right? And I've sold everything that I have except for, what I'm carrying with me.
Mhm.
And I'm going to a place that I've been drawn to ever since I first visited there. And I'm staying with people who love me, and I'm seeing a bunch of people who love me on the way, and I've got to say goodbye to all these amazing people here.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's this book that I've been reading. Um, it's called A Year to Live, and it's by Steve Levine. He's actually Noah's dad. He wrote this. Um, and Maria got me that in for Valentine's Day. She knew I'd always talked about this book,
Mhm.
and she got me this book, and she wrote this beautiful thing in there and painted a picture for me and gave me this. And the whole point of the book is that you live life like you only have 1 year to live, like that's it. And it has all these practices, all these things to do, and I've done a lot of the things in the book in my past, with AA, amends, and being introspective and treating each moment like it's precious and
Mhm.
meditating and all these different things that to do. And I'm gonna do a callback to Noah when he wrote. Did you ever read Dharma Punks?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I've heard of it, but
so
I've never
he
read it.
he did this in Dharma Punks where he had a year to live and he sold all his shit and went on a retreat and he had this party when he came back. He went for 3 months or 6 months in Thailand or some shit in Southeast Asia. He came back and he'd quit his job. Like he had gotten his degree and he like quit. Well, I don't remember all the specifics, but he came back and on the day he was supposed to die, he had a party. And of like the day before he's supposed to pass away, and then the next day he was like, okay, well I'm not dead, but I've lived the last year like I was gonna die. So I didn't open this book um, until probably like a week after Maria died. Then, of course, I'm slowly coming back to consciousness, and I see this book, and I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, like coincidence, right? uh,
Yeah. How did it feel, like
oh
opening
god,
that book or and then reading it after?
and again, death changes things. When your partner passes away unexpectedly, you think of the year to live. Like he talks about working with people in hospice, and he talks about um, the whole mindset of like you go to the doctor and they're like, hey, you have 6 months to live. What are you gonna do, right?
Mm.
And we should be living our life like that all the time. Because how many people, say like, oh well, if I only had 6 months to live, I'd sell everything and go travel, right? Or whatever, or like I want to go see the world. Like I'm kind of still doing. I'm not 100% following the book, but honestly, there wouldn't be anything I would change if I got told I had a month left to live. I would do this.
Yeah.
If I
I
got
mean, what you're doing right now kind of sounds like someone who has like a month left to
It
live.
does, and
Yeah,
and I'm
in a
maybe
good way.
that's me really internalizing the book. I continue to keep reading it because I want to keep. It's one of those books I'm keeping with me the whole year as I even if I'm rereading it and stuff, because when this time comes next year, and I started thinking, I told myself I wanted to be in Sweden by March. Um, whenever Maria's anniversary comes along in May, around that time, I'm interested to see where I'm at because I already see what's happened since the last 6 months, and that's a fucking trip right there to say it's been 6 months. I'm not trying to get all. I mean, I know it doesn't matter. It's just talking, but it's
Matters.
yeah, it does matter. It's powerful, man. So I guess I am. I'm doing what I would do if I knew I was gonna die. I would do this. I would have integrity and try to get rid of everything ethically. People talk about jacking up their credit cards before they die. Like, I don't think I would do that now.
Yeah.
I think in my past I would have, right? Um, Gotten loans that I knew I couldn't pay back. But like, I'm taken care of. I don't need a lot. You know what I love? Meeting people like you,
Mhm.
and I like food.
Yeah.
like, like, I had to say something to bring some levity, but like traveling and eating food is so fucking cool,
I
dude.
know.
And the conversations you have with people, like that's the thing. We all love food, right?
Mhm.
I think we're all foodies to different degrees. We all have different taste buds, and we like to think ours are better than everyone else's. But that's it. I mean, I don't want anything else. You know, like I really don't. And that's at least at this moment. Are there things that could happen? Like, yeah, I'd still like to go fucking, what's the wingsuiting down like the Alps or
Oh
something?
my
Like
god,
that'd be dope as
yeah.
fuck. But that's not what I would do right now if Bezos said, because I'd probably fucking die because I don't even know how to wingsuit, right? Like,
I've seen
just
people just
fucking
crash into the side of a
die.
mountain. It's like, oh, that
Yeah,
looks
ooh,
rough.
that done. No, but like I would just be like, obviously
Yeah.
if I had a little bit more money, that wouldn't be bad. But like, I don't fucking care. I have enough, right?
Yeah.
I've been in places where I didn't even have this, so I feel just so blessed. So thank you for asking that. I
Of
haven't
course.
thought about it, and it's a little emotional. It's good.
Do you mind if I ask another emotional
I would
question
love
then?
it. You're
Okay.
you're interviewing me now.
Oh
Let's
wait, well
go.
I mean I like
Let's.
it. I like to look back
No, I
forth and I
know
want to
you're.
know more
This is
about
why I
you.
fucking love you, dude. Go
Love you
ahead.
too,
Go
LT.
ahead.
What did Maria say to that question?
Ooh.
I'm sorry. I know that's like a hard question to
Oh, no, it's good.
answer,
It's
but feel
good.
free to
I'm an
not if you
open.
don't want
No,
to.
I'm an open
Yeah.
book. I've told myself actually for this podcast, like if anybody asks me anything, I'll answer it. Even people that I know that I have an embarrassing story, I'll fucking say
Oh,
it, dude.
okay, cool, awesome.
That's just my own integrity for myself. Like I want people to be transparent. I want to show them that even if it's super difficult,
Mhm.
it's like I said before, when we share a pain, we cut it in half,
Yeah.
right?
Honesty breeds honesty, and like
Yeah.
just
And if I'm
sharing that
sharing it, like, yeah,
vulnerability.
I want people to be vulnerable. I want people to feel safe and vulnerable, and hopefully they can make that or find that in their own life. If they see it as an example, then they can find it, right? I talk to Maria still like every day, and if I told her all that, if she saw all this, she would laugh super hard at me, because this is all not the podcast, but like meditation teacher training. Those are all things she wanted to do, and I was
Mhm.
always like, "Go for it!" Like, I'm not doing that shit. And then here I am, like 6 months later, doing all that shit. Like, and she would laugh at me, and she would. I think it would just be simple, because she wasn't like. I mean, she could write a poem about it. She's like the most eloquent person I've ever met. But
Mhm.
she would just say like, "Dude, you are going to like, of course." She would say, "Of course you're gonna do this. Of course you are, because this is what you do. You talk to people. You get people to open up, and you're vulnerable. This is what you do. Like, of course,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be so good."
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
I think she'd be really, really proud of you. I'm really
thank you.
happy for you too.
Thank you. If you had told me that 6 years ago, I told you you're full of shit.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm in this spot now
Yeah.
where I do believe you, and I
You're not what you were 6 years ago. I mean, you're
no,
not the
and that's
nihilist.
that's the
And
weird thing, right? And I'm still, there's a lot of things I gotta still wrap my head around. Um, you know, but like, because I have the same hands, right? These are it. But I'm like, who am I really, right? I'm not. I have a lot of things I can identify as, right?
Mhm.
Addict, musician, white, male, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Podcaster. These are all just things, though, right? And I think we get wrapped up in our identity a lot. And I'm always asking myself, well, who's the one that's looking in the mirror, right? Who's the one watching the video? I don't fucking know. But I like that. Like, that's more important to me. And we all have that, but we get caught up in what we see right here, right?
Yeah.
These hands are, I guess, the same hands, or maybe they're not cellularly or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I am a different person. I'm, I don't know what I am though. Like, this body's still, kicking, but dude, I'm not even. We were just talking in the car, like even just a year ago in October. Look at where we've both
I
fucking come.
know, it's
You
crazy.
have grown so much. Like,
Thank you.
I feel like you have this confidence about you, and maybe you don't feel it 100%, but I think everybody should love you. Like,
Oh,
like no,
that's what I've always struggled with, is I feel like, and it almost seems true that just my energy, I mean, I'm just not as sociable as a lot of other people, and I think that just doesn't draw as many people in.
yeah,
So I just don't feel like anyone ever really loves me, but I mean, I know who does, and I think now what I'm trying to solidify is the people in my life who I know love me, and not trying to diminish that in any way, shape, or form. It's like, if I know my partner loves me, if I know my parents love me, and my
yeah.
friends do, I'm not gonna ever try to keep saying like no one loves me, because that's not true.
No,
It's really not.
it's an old
But
narrative, right?
maybe I am maybe a little bit harder to get to know than some other people. But I've come to also realize that that's okay too. Like,
Yeah,
I don't need to be the most sociable person. I don't need to be incredibly outgoing, and I'm not. But that doesn't mean I'm any less valuable as a human
no.
being, right? I think, okay, so I was gonna say, going back to that whole thing of like what you want to be. I think there was this time in my life, and I think a lot of people's, where it just brought me back to this of like, we always say like, when we grow up, maybe not specifically what we want to be is like a profession, but we just say like, I want to be happy. And
Oh, yeah.
I would keep saying that, like, I want to be happy and I want to be happy, and I was never happy because I kept like aiming for this thing that, it was, when I set it as this goal, it was just like unattainable. And the more I tried to be happy, the more miserable I realized I was. And
Yeah.
I think that was a
Wow.
big part of recovery, is when you realize like the more you strive to be a certain thing, like the more you try to be maybe spiritually awakened, the more like materialistic that you might become, or the more shallow and the more happy you try to be, the more miserable you are, because this thing just becomes, it's like you're running, and then you're running and you keep running somehow further away from this idea that you're striving for, this idealized thing. And right now I just want to be happy at this moment, and I am. And that's, I
You
think that's,
are.
it's great. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I am happy at this moment. So I don't ever say that anymore. I'm like, oh, I just want to be happy when I grow up. Like, I, first of all, I'm a fucking grown up. Second of all,
Hell yeah.
like, oh, too late then. And second of all, I am happy.
Yeah.
And every day is a new day. So I like that approach a little bit better.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's what beautiful wisdom that is,
Hmm.
because that's, I think, like you said, there's a lot of people. I've said that, like, I remember, something my dad said. He said a lot of shit, but he would always say, like, tomorrow could have been a brighter day. And he'd say that shit. I'm like, Dad, I still want to kill myself, because you know
Oh.
what? What's told me is that tomorrow's not. Tomorrow's actually shittier than today, is what it felt like, right? But in that same thing where it was this unattainable thing, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just never gonna quite get there. I'm never gonna get there. And I think we always set ourselves up for there to be a destination, right? Okay, once I get this job, then I can get this money, then I'll be happy, then I'll be
Mhm.
taken care of and secure. And like, bro, what if that never comes? And you know what's crazy is, once you do get it, and you're like, well, now what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still not happy. Like, now what, right?
Right.
And we have that all the time. I've had that so many times. Like, even in small things where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go have a nice, I want to say steak dinner, but I know you don't eat meat,
Oh, it's
so
fine. I don't care.
I want to go
Yeah.
get fucking sushi. And like, do you eat sushi anymore?
I mean, I'm a pescatarian ever since I got
Okay, so
diagnosed with
go get like
diabetes.
some. Let's go
So
to fucking Japan and get some, like, the freshest sushi in the world, right?
I
Like,
don't. I wouldn't go to Japan, but yeah.
oh, that's okay. My
Yeah.
bad.
No, no, it's
I'm
fine.
trying. Let's
I'm
go
not
to
gonna let the podcast. I'm not gonna cause any controversy in this podcast.
let's go to San Francisco
Okay.
and get some fucking Bay Area fresh shit, right?
Mhm.
And then I'll be good for like 5 minutes, right? And then it goes,
It'll be a good 5 minutes though.
yeah, it would be a
Be
good fight.
delicious
But
five
then I'm
minutes.
back where I started, where I'm like, oh, cool, like that, now what? Now I still need, and we always find this. I always found, I'm going to talk for everybody. We always find this unsustainable thing, right? Whether it's food or sex or substances or just attention, like codependency. You mentioned that. Like I think codependency is that's the underlying thing of addictions, right? That's a lot of times people say the opposite of addiction is connection, right? So if we're codependent, if we're isolated, this is what addiction really is, right?
Yeah.
If it's just me and this person against the world, like sometimes there's a moment to feel that, right? But that shouldn't be your life.
It's a really romantic feeling at one point, and
Yeah.
like I was thinking about Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
Love the movie, and at one point it felt very romantic.
Yeah.
This feeling and like
Ride or die, let's
yeah,
go.
exactly. Like and it's just you and them and it's just always you and them and like when you are like using and drinking, it's like it just feels like this is the bubble, right? And then it just kind of spirals.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Yeah, like when I felt connected with other people is when I started realizing. And I think another part was like me trying to battle my codependency. It was I told myself I was like I can't, after the whole falling out thing happened. I was like I'm not going to drink. I didn't really have
Yeah.
that big of a problem with drinking. I was
Yeah.
drinking every day and everything and like whatever, but it didn't seem like that big of an issue, but I told myself I was like I'm never drinking again because I know if I drink now to cope with whatever issues right now, like I'm going to become incredibly dependent on it.
Yeah.
And I tried so hard to like kind of counter like everything that kind of held me to my codependency and held me to that relationship in a toxic way.
Yeah.
And so I think now going back and thinking about that relationship and my current relationship, which is that relationship.
But it grows.
Yeah, it grows and it's evolved so much in this last year, and I'm
Dude.
so grateful to be with him. I'm so grateful to like have like us right now because it's changed so much. It's changed so much in the sense that like I am working on my addictions in a lot of ways, and he's obviously working on his addictions in a lot of ways. And mine are a little bit more invisible, I think. It's just, but I can sense that we're both trying really hard, and it's not just for each other. It's mostly for ourselves more than anything. Yeah. Take good care.
My I have these friends. I'm actually going to see them on Thursday. They're probably the last people I see. They have a dog named Moon.
Oh, cool. Okay, English
Except
version.
they adopted her, and she is fully deaf and 3/4 blind.
Oh,
She can't really see.
yeah. Yeah.
And she's got all these other medical issues. But she's the dude. You would actually love this dog.
Are you sure? I haven't met a dog yet that I
dude,
like.
My heart doesn't melt with a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
This dog's like it's like do you ever hang out with somebody that was just like not that privileged or like in a wheelchair, and what love they have to give is just like full. We used to do like community events and stuff.
Yeah.
Not like I'm the most volunteer person, but like this dog just like she melts into you, and you're like, oh my god, you're so happy. You're like the happiest dog I've ever seen, and she can't fucking see or hear or anything. And I'm telling her I'm like, Moon, you are so gorgeous. Like, I love you so much. And she doesn't lick a bunch either. She'll like lick you once, and then she's just like, she just wants your attention because she can respond to feel and smell, and she loves like the senses that she does have are awesome. We took her for a walk, and she's like so fucking happy because the world just opened up for her, And I'm like, dude, this like it's one of those things. Like, I used to get cynical with stories like that, like. Yeah, like I know people have adversity and stuff like that, and yeah, they can appreciate life. Like, but now I see it, I'm like, I'm so happy. This dog was like the one in the litter that they would get rid of, because she can't hear and shit like that. And these girls took her in and like are loving her, and she loves her life. Like, how fucking cool is that?
Um, you can
I don't know.
always learn something, I think, from
Yeah,
being
well, it
on.
makes
It's
me
just
think
like
like
it's
I used to
hard.
think like, oh, someone's got a autistic kid or whatever, and like for them, like, yeah, it's a work, but everything's work, and like, dude, what a beautiful thing people can give, like their love, and for this dog, like, I don't know if I would ever. Anytime I thought of this before I met this dog, I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I could get a rescue dog, but I wouldn't get one that's like super fucked up, like missing a
Yeah.
leg. Like I feel like people do that just for attention or something. Like
Yeah,
that's what
like to
my
feel their
attention
own
is.
ego in some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't do that. They went there and met this dog. Like they were looking at them and they loved her, and that was it. It was just as simple as that. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna take you. They had to have her like on a respirator for the first week they fucking got her and shit. I'm like,
Shit.
what a fucking pain in the ass,
Mhm.
dude. But like, how cool. And like, she might not even have a full life. Who knows? Or maybe she'll live 12 years. Like,
Mhm.
dogs can live, cats can live the longest, but can't you?
Oh, thank God.
They usually live like longer than dogs.
Yeah, the oldest cat was like 30, I think.
I saw something about
Crazy.
that.
Or just like there was not even the oldest. I think it was just like a lot of average, like a lot of old living cats are like 32 years, and I was like, I hope you live to be 32. And Luna though, oh,
So,
I hate because I feel like such a shitty person, but it's just like, God, I don't know. I think it's I just don't want like one. I don't like the noise, and you know that, and I don't know. How can you be so happy? Like you can be happy in a way like he's happy, and he like kind of loves on you and stuff, but you're not like
but you see yourself,
yeah,
dude. It's total like, especially seeing her now. Like, you identify more with that,
yeah. But I think sometimes I like the my flaws I see in her, and then I like it manifests, and I
which is
don't
what we
like that.
do.
Yeah, and so like she's kind of needy, I'm kind of needy, and then I think I don't like needy things, even though I'm needy and stuff. And I think that's why like all of my partners have been distant,
Yeah,
kind of like just a little bit more distant people
yeah.
because and then I would always get upset.
Um. Okay, so I did two for you, right? Led you to this moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So, Amy, what is what's the meaning of life?
are you serious?
I'm serious.
Fuck. Okay, so the other question you asked, and I was very sure of
Ready?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this one I don't know.
Ooh.
There's no real meaning. I mean,
If you had to answer, I know it's cliche, but
yeah.
it's a, I
Take
think
off
it's
my
a good one.
glasses. Whew, gotta take off my glasses for that one.
Ooh,
Gosh, because it's so hard. I mean, if you want to look at it nihilistically, there's no meaning. God is dead. All this other
love
stuff.
that. Music to my ears.
Yeah, but
What's it mean to you
there's nothing wrong with there not having that kind of meaning.
though?
To me, I think yeah, like a lot of people say, like we assign that meaning ourselves,
Yeah,
and think maybe if you ask me my purpose,
yeah.
that
What's your? That's it. I should do that as
yeah,
as a synonymous question.
there we go. If
What do you
you ask
find?
me my
What do you think
purpose,
the purpose of your life is?
to there's a shallow one, which is I want to experience everything. I
Yeah,
want to be able to. I've always said this. I want to experience everything. Like I can. I sit in comfort. If I were to think about the multiverse theory and how there's
yeah.
infinite me's living every single possibility, and I was like, I don't care how shitty it is. I just want to like live all the highs and lows, and I know that sounds strange to some people, but like, and that's why I think I like taking on a bunch of different activities and hobbies, because it's just part of my like goal to be able to live every life that I can live, and that's a shallow one. I guess the other one is more just to learn from everyone, to learn from as many people as I can. So instead
Mm.
of just all the experiences I take for myself, I want to be able to learn and teach other people. But more importantly, learn because I don't want to see myself as like some super awoken person that can just teach everyone. And I'm sure I can teach people certain things, and we all share different values that we can instill in others. But I just everyone's a teacher to me, and I want to be able to like gain that knowledge and really solidify like who I am, and who I want to be, and I want to help others in any way that I can.
Beautiful.
So that's my meaning. I don't really think there is exactly a meaning to this whole universe because everyone there's it's so diverse in this world, and then who knows how many other life forms there are
Yeah.
that have postulated meanings of life and
Well,
everything.
and that's the exciting part of the question to me is that everyone's gonna have something a little different. They say,
Mhm.
right? Even if it's the same sort of thing of like, whatever. I what do you why do you think that experiences are more shallow? What makes it more shallow to you?
I think it was more because it was so self-serving. It felt very like, oh, I want all these experiences, no matter the consequences of them.
But
No
just learning
matter,
from people is not selfish.
I don't know. Maybe I've been thinking about it wrong this whole time. But I don't know exactly like how I've been thinking about it. I just don't want it to be like these experiences without acknowledging, the background behind it. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I want this experience. Does that mean like I want to experience like homelessness or just like starvation and like incredible famine and disease and
yeah,
everything? And that feels like erasure of the people who have experienced all those difficulties. So I want all the highs and lows of life,
yeah.
but it felt kind of shallow to say like, oh, I want all these experiences, but it almost feels forced in some way. Like, say
I
I was
get it.
doing well
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, I want to experience the lows, so I'm going to like pretend to be homeless for
yeah,
something. That feels wrong.
yeah.
So, I think I just want to like be able to learn from others, and I think that's a little better of an explanation with what I
I
want
think
to do.
totally makes. I was just
Yeah.
curious because there's part of me that like I want a lot of experiences too. Like while I have this human incarnation, whatever this is, whatever life ends up being or whatever, there's so much I want to do too. Now, as for is that what I want to do, before like if I knew I was gonna die, would I go do this thing? Like not necessarily, but like, you know, like super cliche. So I've noticed myself saying that. I don't have to say it. There's a lot of things that people want to do because like, I want to see the Sistine Chapel. I've never seen it. It seems like that would be there's not very many man-made things like you mentioned sites and stuff. A lot of that stuff doesn't excite me. Like cool, a building, nice, or like scene paintings and like there's some that does though, and that's one of them. That is just for whatever reason it sticks out to my soul. Maybe I was Michelangelo in a past life or
Oh,
something.
maybe you
Or
were.
was it Michelangelo? Nice. I was thinking Leonardo da Vinci, but he was
Maybe.
more of an inventor, right?
Well, he did
He did.
everything. He
He
was
did
kind of the
everything.
Renaissance man,
Yeah,
like the
I
science and
suck at
math
this.
and
This is
art.
not my strong
Yeah,
suit.
no, it's okay. I
uh,
mean, like, I'm not, like,
yeah.
who is supposed to know all of these things? Yeah.
Well, but some people know a lot more about art
Mm.
history than I do.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not even a novice in it. I just fucking know a few people. But there's something that
Yeah.
sticks out. Like I remember the very first date that I went on with Maria, she mentioned that she wanted to go to Machu Picchu. And I was like, why? And she's like, because I want to go there. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever fucking thought about anything like that before. Like literally up until that point, there was never like I always had a why. And I realized that people don't have to have like because I want to is a good enough reason. And I used to always the philosopher in me was like, well, no, that's not sufficient. Like you need to have where's your evidence? Where's your all this other stuff?
Mhm.
And I don't think I ever just let myself do that. Now I'm like, I want to like something I want to do when I'm in Europe. COVID pending, right? I feel like I have that asterisk next
Mhm.
to everything. Have you heard of the restaurant Noma? It's in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking I don't know 6-8 hour drive away, and I could probably take a train down there. Who
I
fucking
think
knows?
there's a Netflix show on Noma.
Yeah,
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 yeah, it's incredible. It's like what, 3 Michelin stars or
yeah,
something? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the
There's
best
a
restaurant in the world, tons of times.
yeah.
So I want to go there for sure, and just because I can, like
Like, why do you want to go to Sweden?
because it. Yeah, that's a good question because I have to. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's like my answer now because I want to
Yeah,
because it's what's next.
it's all you need.
Yeah, it's so interesting that that's the thing. You said something else I was gonna say, but obviously it doesn't really matter at this
Mhm.
moment because you got me thinking with these questions, Amy.
I love how this conversation has kind of become much more organic. Like in the beginning, I was like, "Oh God, I have to come up with something
I
nice
know
to
you.
say," but now we're just kind of like,
Now
kind
it's
of just chilling, and
that's what
I
I'm
like that.
saying.
Yeah,
We forget this shit's here,
yeah,
right? Now we're just
exactly.
hanging out in just a little bit more of an awkward position than normal. That's that's like all that
Yeah,
I think of,
exactly.
but it goes away, and I think that's that's what people want. That's what I want. People can fuck themselves.
Mhm.
I love them. but like I'm not doing this. I've told this to other people. Like I'm not doing this. If I get a dozen people that are, if you're like the only one listening to this and your friends and my couple people that care about me here,
Mhm.
so be it. I'm still going to do it because I want to learn, like you
Mhm.
just mentioned, right? There's a lot of similarities in that. Like I want to do it, and if those people like it, then awesome. Like I don't, if I pick up sponsorships or if I get a million fucking subscribers or any, like, cool. That's all icing on the cake. What I want to do is this though. So I'm not gonna do it any certain way to get more viewers or like to clickbait shit or what. I just want to do cool stuff,
Mhm.
and I want to have little snippets, of like our conversations of things that you mentioned, like like this is what I see, and I might end up actually just doing this when this is released. Is
Yeah.
like Instagram picture of the picture you gave me, and like what do here's this clip from YouTube, or like Amy and I talked about what you would do if you could do anything. Like,
Mhm.
how amazing is this? She went to this place. Like, where would you go? Is there something that's interesting to you? Like that's what I want to spark in
Yeah.
people. I want them to see it and be inspired, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a dozen people I know, I don't
Yeah.
fucking care.
I mean, just a couple of these questions, like, and then hearing people talk about it. And it's crazy because you've asked maybe like three questions, three or
Yep.
four
Three.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've expanded on some things,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But we can talk for hours on
Oh
three
yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Which is
Well, yeah.
just
Usually we just we have like BoJack on, and then we just end up talking for like multiple hours, eating food. Sherpa
Sherpa
Kitchen.
Kitchen,
Yeah.
so good. I
Shout out
actually
to
had
Sherpa
it.
Kitchen. Did you?
Sherpa Kitchen, so good. I went and got their chili momos the other
Oh.
time at the farmers market
Oh
uptown.
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
they started like the food truck at uptown. So
They're so
good.
good,
Oh my
man. I
goodness.
should have him on this fucking
Yeah.
thing. That's a good
Oh, that
idea.
would be so nice. You could even have a digital one too.
I know that's well. I'm gonna end up doing those, so we'll probably end up doing another one later. But
Perfect.
just trying to get people that I can meet with in person.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think I'll do this one. We'll see where this one goes. This is my last one that's like
Hmm.
the script, but we can keep talking.
Sure.
If and this is maybe we already talked about it, maybe we didn't. But if you, what's there's something you could share with whoever's listening to this
Hmm.
that you've learned in this life, or that you feel like if you could give advice to yourself or whatever, what would you say? Like if you could share one thing
One thing.
that you've learned in this life.
Oh God, LT. Oh, that's so hard.
I
There's
know.
so many lessons to be
I
learned.
I get this little satisfaction over making people not know what the question is and them answering
I'm
it.
glad you didn't show me the questions beforehand because
Oh
like
no,
knowing
you
my
would have just been
personality, I would have
thinking.
typed something like
Yeah,
the
you would
whole
have been like, "Well,
speech.
hang on, can we wait?"
Yeah.
No, but just whatever. Like,
Ugh.
what sticks out to you, Amy?
Um, make those connections when you still can. Like when you, I don't know. I think some of my most valuable, like the most valuable things in my life are people, or
Mm,
not things, but like aspects of my life are people, and not material obsessions and any goals. For me, it's like I don't ever want to look back and be really far in my career, which I do want to be far in my career too.
yeah,
But I don't want to ever look back at my career and just be really far in it and think that I, like what did I lose to get here? And I don't want it to be the people I care the most about. And I think I've been struggling with that a lot because sometimes I think about because I do want to move. And I want to move to New York, hopefully for graduate school, which I'm applying
hell
to
yeah,
right now. And I don't know. Sometimes I think because like my partner, he's gonna be staying here for another year, and I don't know like what his goals are. I don't want him to ever feel like he needs to tailor his life for me.
yeah,
But I also, and I think we were talking about it like you and Maria, and
yeah.
traveling too, right? And you always felt like you had to like either just not travel and stay together, or like I said, like this black and white
Yeah,
way of thinking. So I guess just like value the people who truly are important to you, and take it everything one step at a time. Like I always like to think like in a year, none of this will have ever mattered. Like these bad things, like yeah, the bad things, you'll look back a year later on and feel like that was almost kind of funny, or that was like just
yeah.
a fond memory, as opposed to this end of the world devastation. It's something I try to teach myself, and remind myself all the time,
Yeah.
and to just love the people around me and love so strongly in a way that not codependent, but just love them.
Yeah.
Truly raw and pure love. Yeah. So
I think,
it's the best I can do for now.
dude, no, that's amazing, and that fits, that resonates with me so strongly, right?
Hmm.
And like you said, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. I think I had a conversation with a friend, and he pretty much said like we were talking about something like in how people, usually people that are successful or whatever you want to define that as, everybody's got a different idea, end up stepping on the people around them to some extent to get that right. And you actually incorporated that in your thing where you're like, you want to value the people. You're not. I read the self-help book a long time ago of where he says it's not just about money, but he says you want to use money and love people, right? Instead of
Mm,
using people and loving money.
yeah.
That's a lot of what our society preaches, right? And it could be anything. It could be fame, it could be power, it could be whatever. But we use people to get these things, or a relationship, or and I think that's awesome that you even have the foresight to see like because you're, how old are you again?
I'm 23.
I was
Yeah.
just, so it's so cool too
Oh,
because
baby.
but you are, but you're not. Because you're like, you're learning just like everybody, right? And it just looks different. You've gone backpacking around Europe and shit. You've had a lot of experiences people haven't had. And not that that's what makes you an adult. It's, and I'm not going to say what the definition of an adult is, because we're all figuring it out. We're all really just little kids, right?
Yeah.
That know a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
But
well, what philosopher was it talking about the inner child? Was it Freud? I don't know. I
probably,
don't
don't
want
know.
to say anything about Freud, but like a lot of the way that we're driven, like the anal retentive versus oral retentive, and
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
ego, superego, and everything, like how it's derived from like our childhood
Yeah.
and how that can like steer steer us as
Yeah.
adults, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's all we really are, right? But
Mm.
we're we've learned a little bit, and then I kind of lost my train of thought, but
I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
No, 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 you're fine. But yeah, I mean, that's all we really are, right? But we've kind of learned a little bit, and I was talking about what it means to be an adult. Like, I think everybody has kind of a different idea of when they felt like they were an adult, you know, because there was times like I didn't get sober till, was I 22 or 23? I don't even remember at this moment.
I think it was 23 because you said I thought it was 24 because you said 6 years ago last year.
Yeah, I have 7 years
Oh.
right now.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I think I was 23, about to turn 24.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was 2013. I was born in 89. It was the early part of the year.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I was 23. So I was your age when I was just getting sober. I had spent the previous 4 years that you've been going to school doing heroin and other drugs and doing whatever, right?
Mhm.
That's what my life looked like. And does that make me any less of an adult, or does that make me more of an adult? No, those were my experiences. Um, and then I was in like sober living houses and shit like that, and, when I was 22 and stuff. And I remember being in there, and kids never had, they're like 25 years old, they'd never done laundry in their life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like I remember there was this one kid who was like, so can you show me how to use the washing machine? And I was like, you just, it works just like a regular washing machine. He's like, yeah, but I've never done laundry before. And I was like,
Mhm.
what? Like, what the fuck have you never done? Like, never, you've never even like tried to use a, like, that was so mind blowing to me. But
Mhm.
like, does that make him less of an adult? No, right? Like, what do we assign this to? Some people think that you need to have a kid, and that's what makes you an adult, or a career, or whatever the fuck it is, right? I don't know what it is. I know that I felt like an adult, feeling an adult when I was still using, because I know you haven't, or I'm not gonna say whatever. And it's already implied
Oh
in
yeah.
Fight Club. There's a scene that resonates with me where he's sitting in a bathtub and he's talking. He's like, you know, went to school, to get a job, and I finished school and I called my dad up and he's like, get a job, right? And he's like, okay, cool. So I go get this job, and then it's like, now what? Like, buy a house, right? So then I get this, and then it's like, now what, Dad? Like, I don't know, get married. It's like, fuck,
Yeah.
like, is this what I even want? And I felt like that. I was working at GoDaddy at the time, and I was making way more money than I've ever made, and I was like 21 years old, right? In the middle of my addiction, I was getting promoted while I was on heroin. It's fucking insane. Uh,
Wow.
I don't know how that worked, but that just did. That's where I was at in my life,
Mhm.
and and I just remember thinking, like, I was asking my parents what to do, so I went and got a house. I bought a new car. And they're like, I don't know, you need to just like settle down. And I'm like, the fuck am I gonna settle down with? Like, you have no idea what my life is. Like, I'm doing these things to show you that I'm okay, but my life's chaos. I'm spending thousands of dollars. Like, any money that I have, I'm not saving. I'm not putting it anywhere. I'm literally spending it all on drugs. Like,
Mhm.
and that's not to sound cool or anything like that. Like, I had no fucking idea what I was doing.
Mm.
So I'm an adult because I have these things, but then I don't know what I really want, right? And maybe that's what makes me, defines adulthood. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if there's actually. I don't think I'm ever going to get to an answer if I keep talking. Is what I realized. But I
No,
think
but you
it's
find out a little bit more about yourself, I think, as you
yeah,
talk about this. It's
yeah.
like I still don't. I'm nowhere closer to the definition of an adult before this conversation than
No,
right now.
but we
But
know what it's not, right?
yes.
And sometimes that's like the most important thing. It's not these things that we say. And everybody's just a few. I only have a few years of experience more than you do. Maybe there's some things that you're going through or about to go through that I've gone through. And then vice versa, there's going to be things you go through that I haven't, and then maybe I experience them down the road, and then that's where you help me, right? And that's the whole beauty of human incarnation. It's this cool mystery that we're all fucking living, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I could keep talking about. I'm trying now. I'm just thinking about fucking adulthood and whatever that means.
God.
But I we'll start wrapping this up.
Mm.
I am super happy that we got to talk and that we get to share this with people. And because I think you're a brilliant human being. I feel the light whenever we hang out, and I'm always excited whenever it says Amy RR because that's
Aw.
what
Oh
I have
yeah.
you on my phone.
Oh, it's still from Refuge though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
still
yeah.
from Refuge
Yeah.
because that was when it still was,
Mhm.
and it's super cool. You let me into your house. I got to meet your cat and your dog, and like I don't know, man. There's something really organic, and this is I'm gonna talk to other people that maybe I don't know as well, and
Mhm.
this is like an older friendship. So and it's cool, and I like hearing all these different opinions, and I think you have a very different life experience than I do.
Yeah.
But then there's the
Wonderful.
similarities, and that's what we can focus on, right? And
And
that
also learn from the differences, which
fuck
is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're such an open, loving person. I really believe that, and you might feel a little awkward, and I'm not gonna have a Grey's Anatomy moment with you where you automatically are the person you've always wanted to
Oh
be.
God.
But like, dude, I know that people appreciate you, and then I think that as you continue to go, that's gonna blossom even more. Because dude, there's so much. You have so much wisdom and intellect and whatever, and just energy to give. Like I always feel energized. So yeah, I'm so appreciative to have you.
That means the world. Thank you so much, LT.
Yeah,
I really hope that I can come back here whenever you come back and whenever you want to do another podcast, maybe with like friends that you've had in the first round.
fuck yeah.
I'd
When I
love to
get
do
better
it
at this,
again. Yeah.
or when you come to
Yeah.
Europe, or who knows,
Yeah, and you have all these crazy experiences and adventures, and then I don't know where I am gonna be, and we can all
building
just kind of
building stuff.
maybe hope so. Oh my goodness, and we can kind of like reconvene
Yeah.
and just have this whole new talk, and we can have completely new answers and questions to ask each other, which
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
just really excited
Well,
about.
that's and
Yeah,
we'll be in touch, even more in between there because I'm gonna share things and everything. But I I think this is a good place to end it.
awesome.
And thank you guys all for listening. Amy, I love you. Thank you. Yeah, we can wave at the
Yay!
camera.
Now I can say hi to the camera.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right, cool.
Awesome. Thank
Well,
you all
thanks
so
again. Thanks
much.
everybody.
Thank you, LT.